points on the less. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a little, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel less a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in on February 22nd, 2021, and the stock market is going to go crazy. And I got 3 stacks that I'm looking at this week. We got a lot of economic news, both out of the United States and the rest of the world. We're going to get to hear from Powell, and then even Yellen is going to get into the mix. Add that with everything else we saw last week. Last week was a short week. We're going to get a full week. So this week should be a little bit more exciting, and we got a little bit of the stimulus stuff to look forward to also. So we got a lot to talk about. I want to go over what we have in the market this week, news, events, everything else, the stocks that we're looking at, and some of the plays that we are already in. So let us start the lay. You guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes for open. It's the first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free $99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/the-stock-market. You can post the plays, see the plays, watch the watch list come to life. And yes, if you want to be a part of the biggest Jerome Powell fan club in the world, then yeah, we're going to be watching him this week, and we are the place to be. And the most important thing you need to do, post your watch below. Let us know what you're looking at. Got any plays, comments, remixes, anything. Post them below and source that info. Chat at the chat, baby. And do not forget, today is Sunday. Tomorrow is Monday. That is usually how it works, and we need your help with the random account. We started this account with $500 last year. We take a random play from the comments on every Monday watch list and buy it arbitrarily and see the performance. So what we need you to do on this video, post a random option trade below, the stock date expiration, keep it under $100 and preferably with time. And tomorrow morning, we're going to do a random comment picker and do it. So again, shout out to Chad, baby. But we have had a losing streak. Again, ever since the GameStop stuff, it's been going down a little bit, about 5 weeks without any hits, man. So come on, this strategy is working. It's keeping us alive, but like, come on, Chad, you got to do your thing, baby. No pressure, no pressure. So right off the bat, like I said, there is going to be a lot of economic data this week. You're going to get the GDP estimates from last quarter, which was pretty much October through December. It could confirm a lot of the job slowdown and everything else that was happening. Again, it's lagging data, so it's going to be a little bit interesting. However, you are going to get updated home prices, consumer sentiment, Case-Shiller, and even a bunch of other economic data points, Dallas Fed, all of that stuff. So there is going to be a lot of stuff this week economically. The market may respond to it. Again, it depends on how it is, or tying that into the stimulus, it is either going to kind of confirm what a lot of people have been expected, or if it surprises, it may change the narrative, but that is very unlikely. Now, don't forget what we saw last week, because this is tying in everything. You are also going to get your first full week of the bonds moving in the midst of all of this stimulus stuff, all of the economic data we're about to get, and just how fast bonds were moving last week. So that is still going to be a very, very big key to watch. So that is going to be the first thing I'm going to be looking at this week. The next thing, I talked about this coming into the close of last week, but I want to see how Wall Street reacts to the virus declines. So there was headlines into this weekend from Fauci saying not to be too excited just yet, even though numbers are declining. And even Como talked about a new variant being discovered in New York, or one of those other ones they've been discussing. So that may take away from a little bit of the steam. However, this is probably going to come up very soon. I brought this up. The numbers are declining. And now the question is, how does Wall Street take that? Or is it already priced in? And that's what could probably bring about some changes. So that is going to be something I'm going to be looking for this week. And then, like we said, it's going to happen early this week. Tuesday, we are going to get Powell. So this is going to be the semi-annual report to Congress. He's going to get grilled by them. It's going to probably be very good. And this is the first time we're going to see him in this capacity under a new administration and everything else. So it's going to be interesting to see what he says. There's a lot of stuff that could be touched on, everything from the GameStop situation. We already got to hear a little bit from him when that did happen. But now a lot of people are going to look for what he says towards stimulus and how he feels comparatively to what he said last time with unemployment and all of that. So that has the potential to be very important. Then at the end of this week, you're going to get the G20 starting, and that is where Yellen is going to be. So her script has kind of been the same. She seems to be advocating all of the $1.9 trillion stimulus and everything else under the Biden administration. She's kind of just been a good cheerleader for that. So we kind of know what she's going to say, and tying that back into Powell, that is something we want to see, is how does he fit into the new administration? This is going to kind of be his first appearance in a weird way. So those are going to be the main events to watch this week. As far as everything else, I just want to keep an eye on stimulus and anything policy related, just because you're going to get all of these numbers, and there's going to be everything from the Fed to the stimulus votes and all of that. So the real key is going to be watching the velocity in terms of any rotation, whether it's bonds or equities. We want to see how the market reacts at these highs, and in conjunction with all of the news we're getting from everything from Powell to wrapping up earnings and then the data point, and just really where does Wall Street start pricing us coming into the next quarter. So our work is cut out for us. We got a full week. It should be exciting, and I hope you're ready, but that is pretty much it. So let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, I have 4 different plays this week. I'm actually feeling a little bit more active, so hopefully we don't get snuffed out here, but there's a lot of stocks that keep breakout points and have held up, and you've got to see a big decay, so I think it's going to create a little bit of a window. So the first play I want to be watching, we have this long term, of course, but Snapchat, I want to look at some of the shorter term option trades because the stock is held up and even the long term premiums have held up, but now some of those shorter term contracts, they have decayed a little bit. So I'll show you guys what I mean here on the options, and you can see here Snapchat's at that all-time high, $65. Even in the midst of this last few weeks, you can kind of see how it's moved a little bit, but then would just base out at certain levels. So you see it in the stock. What does that mean for options? That they're probably going to decay. So when you start getting to the June out the money contracts, you can see that the contracts have gapped up a little bit, getting near where they were at the all-time highs. The in the money ones are looking just like the stock, but then you come to even like the April out of the monies. The further out the money, the less they're going to go up, but you can see now the stock is hitting all-time highs, but that premium is not as high when you start factoring in the out of the monies because they're about to expire soon. So if you do see a breakout with Snapchat, I want to be looking to some of these shorter term contracts with some time, at least a month, but I guess these are only like 3-week contracts, so it makes sense why these contracts don't have the same premium and there isn't any earnings, so keep that in mind. But if that gets velocity, if that starts to move, it held up Friday when Friday was a little bit ugly, so I'm going to be watching them. That is going to be the first play. The second play that I'm going to be looking at is VLDR and Laser. So these are the LiDAR companies. There was LiDAR news on Friday that Apple was going to be using this technology or something, so we made a play on it. We've talked about this LiDAR stuff a few months ago. It was already just going crazy. I didn't get the opportunity, so you can see how it kind of really hasn't moved all year. I figured we'd take a bite on that news. It somewhat held up the news, and I did end up making a play on that on Friday. I just grabbed 2 of the March 19th $40 calls for 41 cents. So again, even with any of these plays, even if you're going to be watching plays this week, keep in mind though, those March plays are about to become weeklies. That's why there is going to be opportunity, but make sure you don't get caught holding them too long. Make them free, ghetto spread it. Just be smart with those. And even during news events, those are going to be the more volatile ones, or the ones that'll go a little bit more crazy just because they are cheap. But I want to see if that news has any continuation coming into this week, so watch VLDR and Laser. The third play that I want to watch is going to be Intel. They're breaking out from that earnings new CEO high. So remember, they had that big news. They shot up like 10-15%, and they had earnings still held up. Well, now they've been coming back up, getting mentioned in this whole chip shortage discussion, so people are really liking them. And even when you start looking at the chart, it's bringing it back up to those 2020 highs. So believe it or not, Intel kind of meets that long-term value criteria for the rotation. You can see it here. They're still below those 2020 highs up here. So if it breaks out from there, it's going to start looking good. You could pull it out a little bit. Once in 2020, they were shooting up, and then they haven't been up since there. So I think that's going to be interesting just in general. If you do hear any more of that chip shortage news or anything along those lines, I think that's going to be great for Intel, so I'm going to be watching them. And then finally, the last player industry I want to be watching this week is going to be UAL, or the airlines in general. I think they're at key breakout levels. We said watch this for a canary in the coal mine. I think this is a positive canary because now it's finally breaking out, getting back to some more high levels and breaking out here on the year. So factor that into any of the policy, stimulus news, anything of that nature. I think it's going to be good. So watch where they're at, and you can see what I'm talking about. This is them from the beginning of the year. They're kind of breaking out of that. Pull them out on the 1 year. They start getting above there again. It's going to start changing the trajectory and trend. So I want to look for that. I'm just hoping that the options are decayed on there and they don't hold a big premium. So that one's going to be interesting. That's why I'm kind of putting it on the last one. But those are going to be the main plays. As far as everything else, watch those value rotation stocks. That's where I'm going to put Ford into the mix. It doesn't pay the dividend. They did have their earnings not too long ago, but I think they're kind of holding up. And just any of these companies that have either been plateauing up or down, these are the ones I really want to watch as we start to enter into a new quarter, new season, and see what people start pricing in. So watch Ford and then watch Boeing. They had a really strong day on Friday, and this could just be one of those bigger rotation names. Again, you pull it out on the 1 year, you could see how it is. So I want to see if this reacts, especially in line with those airlines. I think that's going to be good. And just in general of a rotation name, I think that one's going to be interesting. And then watch NK and NH. I don't know if you guys remember these. I just discovered this. I forgot we bought this thing, but I'm asking Chad here here. I don't know how NH is related. I thought there's some relationship. If there isn't, maybe they just sound familiar, but I'm still holding NK. I forgot I even had this stock. This is one that we did just playing it small and keeping those shares. I've had it for a while here, but we bought it at $6. It shot up here. So why I'm bringing this up, because I want to watch some of the healthcare stocks. There was a lot of talk about that over this weekend, but in general here too, I want to look to do a covered call play tomorrow. So remind me this, if you guys are there live on stream, you can watch me do a covered call and we'll see this. So I want to watch that, but then I'm also holding NH. That's why I'm asking you guys if there is any relation. It seems pretty interesting, but this one hasn't broken out as much. So I'm going to be watching those, even some of the healthcare vaccine stocks. Moving on to the other chart, watch Baidu. They killed it day after earnings, so we didn't end up selling a spread, but they still blew it out. I want to watch for a continuation or take advantage of this type of move, because that means some of the premiums will still be going crazy. So I still want to sell premium, but thank God we didn't too early. So I'm going to be watching that one. I think that's going to be interesting. Watch Wells Fargo, even JPM and the banks. Again, Wells Fargo had that positive restructuring news or something along those lines, but even JP Morgan, they're breaking out from those 2020 highs, even though Buffett sold out of them, but we still have those old plays. So if you guys remember, we got some of those September ones. I'm still holding those. We made those free a while ago, and they're still holding up there about 187%. So we still get to keep those, have that exposure. But again, remember last week, the banks got a lot of money coming into there. They were a big winner on that whole rotation. So I want to see if that continues and then watch them coming into this week. So watch JP Morgan, watch Starbucks. I like, again, kind of one of those names that have plateaued slightly above. I want to put this on watch there for that value rotation and see. They just haven't gone crazy in a while, so I wouldn't be surprised for any positive news, or I want to look at it at the very least. There's always going to be an opportunity when the stock moves slow, especially with the options. Then watch Disney. This one, I've been waiting for the continuation. It hasn't happened yet, but I still like it. It's been trading pretty interesting the last couple days here, but it's still holding up and holding those levels again, plateauing a little bit. So we want to see how this plays out, and if any of these companies hit breakouts, it's really going to be about picking the winners and losers. So watch them. Then watch Apple. I brought this up on Friday. I'm going to be watching them on the downside, or kind of like a leader, because they sold off those last 3 days. Pretty big sell-off if you look at it percentage-wise. So watch them to lead, or if there is a real bounce and some of the other names don't do as good, watch for Apple to kind of regain some of what it lost last week. So that is it for the plays. And then finally, coming into TLT, it keeps dropping. It keeps dropping fast. This means rates are going up. This is what we need to watch to this week, especially in line with all the economic data. But what we got on Friday, the dollar is starting to play along. So watch if the dollar breaks this level. It might do it without TLT moving. Then it's going to play out a little bit like the beginning of last week did, where they're going to kind of match up and converge. Otherwise, if the dollar is going to come down, that means it's going to be a bigger move with rates. And if that happens, we're probably going to see a lot of action this week. However, you guys know it's macro. We need to watch this. This has been an important part, and there has been a lot of eyeballs turning to this. So I think bonds and the dollar may explain anything else, or might be right beneath the surface this week. So I hope you're ready. But that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate, healthy, ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. I need you to be able to walk with the armor, baby. You put it on for a reason. But the code loves you. I love you. I'll see you in the morning. Let's go.